Hi everyone, it's Roger here from What's On at DisneyPlus.com, and quick news update for you guys how we're likely to see more Disney Plus originals from Australia. But before we get into any of that, make sure you do hit that subscribe button to keep up with the latest Disney Plus news. So as streaming services continue to grow, and especially like with Disney Plus where they're just growing up in different countries and more people are watching it, each individual country is kind of coming to terms with the idea of what's happening in the changing world of media, because while years ago, everything was kind of made in the countries and then we saw it, and then just like Hollywood content would then be imported and shown on channels alongside local shows and films, etc. But as the streaming services have continued to grow and kind of Hollywood's powers have continued to grow with that, a number of countries have taken steps to kind of stop this, and kind of especially with streaming services, because they were coming in and the same rules that applied to like television channels weren't applying to streaming services, and that has been changing. In Europe we have a quota system where Disney Plus and other streaming services have to have a certain amount of content made in the area. This protects local culture, so just seeing shows that represent our stories, what we'd like, what we don't like, in things like that. You also get as well is it protects jobs in the countries, like people making the shows, filming in them, so not everything ends up getting exported out to Hollywood, New York, Atlanta, or up in Canada. So they're kind of trying to keep stuff local. Australia is now bringing in a new rule. Regulations are going to be coming in later this year, with it set to kind of kick in July of 2024. There's negotiations going on right now with the different streaming services and the studios and stuff to try and work out the way forward. There's no like set number like 20% or 10%. Sometimes this can be like 10% of the money that the actual streaming service makes. I mean, they have to be realistic. If they put too much emphasis on making too much content, then the company might end up just pulling out altogether, which is no good. Now, Disney have a lot of content that they are creating in Australia that we've already seen a number of shows like Fearless. We saw Donna Hayes' Christmas, and we've also had Shipwreck Australia. Some great stuff there coming. And I think we're going to see a lot more of this kind of thing. There's loads of shows also currently in production, including The Clearing and also The Artful Dodger. They've also been filming other bits and pieces there. Now, Disney actually have a huge studio in Sydney, Australia, with loads of stages. They film loads of things down there, including Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. They filmed Thor: Love and Thunder. They've currently been filming the new Planet of the Apes film. And yeah, loads of stuff. Even some of the Star Wars films were filmed there. There's a big presence there right in Sydney, and they also film in other places around Australia as well. So I think moving forward, we are going to see more content being created in Australia, which I think is fantastic. And I think that's definitely one of the great things about Disney Plus. We're really starting to see all of these global shows coming in from all these different countries. And I think it just makes Disney Plus much better with just more variety. We have the same kind of things here in Europe, here in the UK. In France, they have something very similar. Canada wants to bring in things like this. But local content is vital, and obviously they want to try and get it out to as many people as possible. If you're spending money to make it, you might as well use it and put it out on your streaming services, and it just appeals not just to local audiences but wider audiences again. Especially like with Australian and UK shows, they can be much more easily transferred to Australia and kind of get an audience. We just saw Extraordinary release on Disney Plus here in the UK last week, and it's on Hulu in the US. So we are definitely going to be seeing a lot more content from Australia in the future on Disney Plus and other streaming services. Whether or not that's scripted or unscripted, don't know, but I think this is a really good move, especially I grew up watching a lot of Australian television as well. I think this is a really good step forward. I think each country kind of having some rules and kind of setting boundaries for Hollywood, because I think unfortunately what would happen is if you didn't have these rules, we'd end up with just having American content all the time, and that just doesn't represent everywhere. We need to have content that represents different regions and stuff, telling different stories. There's a lot of fun watching shows from Korea, or just for myself, like with Extraordinary, with it being based in the UK, it's got a different tone to it, a different feeling to it. And the same thing can be said with like Australian content. But yeah, so we are definitely going to be seeing more stuff. I wouldn't be at all surprised as well if Disney kind of end up licensing some content that's made in Australia for the streaming service. That's what they've done here in the UK and in Europe, just to kind of boost what they've got. A lot of those local production companies then kind of do it as non-exclusive, so they'll lease it out to Netflix, Amazon and Disney Plus all at the same time, just to generate more money. So that really helps not just the streaming services, but also helps the local production companies and just keeps people in jobs and stuff. So it's just really good to kind of just see kind of entertainment just being looked after globally, and I think it's definitely a step forward in this, because as I said, if it wasn't for these rules, Would Disney really have much going on down there? I don't know. But on that, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Go check us out over at whatsonatdisneyplus.com. A big thank you to all of our Patreon and YouTube channel members. And on that note, guys, thank you very much. See you guys soon. Laters.